importance during the COVID-19 scenario. To, to be specific, we feel proud to welcome our first invited speaker, Dr. Jagmeet Madan, National President, Indian Dietetic Association, and Professor and Principal, SVT College, Mumbai, because he is at present creating awareness in our country over antiviral food that boost immunity, fortified food, gluten-free diet, celiac disease, LDL, HDL, etc. And all these concepts are essential for the citizens with undernutrition. Today, Dr. Jagmeet will elaborate on nutrition priorities in COVID-19. It is our great pleasure and honor to welcome next invited speaker, Dr. Adela Jamorabu Ruiz, immediate past president, Nutritionist Dietitians Association of Philippines, and professorial lecturer, Graduate School, Polytechnic University of the Philippines. Analysis of nutrition and environment to address the progression of non-communicable and communicable diseases has been the passion of Dr. Ruiz. And today she will let us know about the challenges and opportunities for dietitians, nutritionists in the new normal. We feel equally fortunate to welcome the learned participants of this webinar, most of whom are the dedicated teachers and students from the institutes of higher education of our country and abroad. And for everyone, it is a matter of grave concern that the sudden closure of workplaces across the globe to contain the spread of COVID-19 has erupted a far-reaching economic and societal consequences. Non-availability of midday meal or proper food and absence of regular physical activity have posed a threat on nutrition in general. However, less consumption of street food may also have a kind of positive contribution towards our nutrition. As we know, nutrients are basically of two types, macro and micronutrients. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are macronutrients, and vitamins and minerals are micronutrients that are not automatically produced by the body. Thus, it is important to know the sources of food for these nutrients. Although nutritional deficiency is a global problem, nearly half of world's micronutrient deficient population is in India. The month of September is the National Nutrition Month in India, and for this year the theme is Eat Right, Bite by Bite. In fact, such yearly themes advocate importance of healthy diets, increased physical activity, and reduced sedentary behavior. In this year, government initiatives have been taken to introduce nutrition report card of school children along with certain basic data on their pathological parameters, BMI, waist-hip ratio, etc. It is expected that such report card can estimate all forms of malnutrition, nutrient deficiencies, overnutrition, and obesity. The measure will also help to create nutrition awareness. Today, we sincerely aspire that the eminent speakers of this international webinar will enlighten us over the appropriate measures by following which we can get rid of the cascading impacts of such a deadly pandemic on nutrition. At the end, I remain thankful to our dedicated teachers in the Department of Food and Nutrition and to the members of IQAC for organizing this important webinar. Finally, I wish grand success of this webinar and welcome you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our principal, sir, always his lecture is always we are remembering in every webinar, and he's well prepared for giving the theme of this webinar. So after that, I would like to request our IPSC coordinator, Dr. Mitali Gangopadhyay, please tell something regarding the webinars and invite the esteemed speakers.
Thank you so much,
Mitali.
Shumon. Thank you very much, Shumon. A warm welcome to all of you here on this international webinar, which is based on the occasion of National Nutrition Month in India 2020. We are really privileged to have two stalwarts among us today. We have Dr. Roos and Professor Madan. So welcome both of you, ma'am, to our webinar. And yes, ma'am. And it is again, a pleasure for the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC, to collaborate with such, a wonderful enterprise that the Food and Nutrition Department has taken up today. I would like to tell you that Food and Nutrition Department is a very young department, but still with its baby steps, it is gradually trying to stride, great heights. And we are there to support this department and see to it that it can fulfill its ambition of reaching the zenith of academia. Like the topic, as it is the nutritional month in India, we all know that nutrition is ultimately the nucleus of good health. We used to, from a childhood, we used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So, going by that dictum, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, I would like to say that very few articles that I have read, on nutrition, I got to know that even serious ailments like malignancy, may not be cured, but it may be arrested, its growth may be arrested if the patient takes proper nutritional diet. So we are here today, especially at present times when we are going through such pandemic situation. I'm sure this particular issue on which we are going to have this discussion is going to be helpful and beneficial to all of us. I would also like to state here that, especially to the two esteemed speakers that we have today, that our college, it caters to student population, majority of which comes from the marginalized socio-economic background. So they're economically and socially quite on the periphery. And not only that, many of them are also first generation learners. So you can very well understand that they lack the awareness of the correct nutritional diet that they should have, one. And number two, they also do not have enough resources to procure that diet. So as the coordinator of IQAC, I would request our two esteemed speakers if they would kindly focus on the measures which we may take from our institutional side to guide the students so that they can take up certain measures, very maybe in their small ways, to keep themselves healthy, to keep themselves fit. And if in any way we from the college, from the institution, can help them in this endeavor, we shall really feel very good and very proud. And again, let me tell you that this department, Food and Nutrition Department, it has very dynamic support, dedicated support from two very significant faculties. One, Dr. Shumon Chakraborty, who is faculty department of anthropology, but he's the coordinator of Food and Nutrition Department, and Orpita De, who is a young, bubbly girl, but trying her best out to see that the department does its best. So we hope to support you in all your endeavors once again. And I really hope that this is a good seminar. We all enjoy listening to this seminar, and we all, get significant tips from this seminar, which is very important today, like how to keep ourselves healthy in our own ways. So thank you once again, and over to you, Shumon.
Thank you, Dr. Gangopadhyay, our IQC coordinator. Now the time to introduce Professor Jagmeet Madan by Orpita De, but where she is, I think she's connection is lost, I think. So where she is? She's connection is lost, I think. So I think Orpita, you can start. Hopefully, in the meantime, she will join.
Okay.
Yeah. So now Orpita, my colleague from Department of Food and Nutrition, and also the moderator of this international webinar, she is giving the introduction of Professor Jagmeet Madan. And after that, hopefully, Professor Jagmeet Madan will join very soon and she will deliver his lecture. So I'm trying. Orpita, carry on.
Yes.
Okay. So our first speaker is Dr. Jagmeet Madan. She is an eminent nutritionist, National President, Indian Dietetic Association, 2019 to 2021. Principal and Professor, Department of Food Nutrition and Dietetics at Sir Vital Das Thakurse College of Home Science Autonomous, SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. She is a gold medalist and recipient of Young Scientist Award and Dr. Ramanathan Award by Nutrition Society of India, National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad. She is a recipient of the prestigious International Research Grant Award, PNPG grant, from American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, USA. She was awarded Maharishi Karve Utkrishta Shikshak Award 2017 for Best Teacher Award by SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. She is also a lead principal investigator of the International Research Project on pre-diabetes in adolescent and young adults in India and food-based intervention approved by USDA 2018 to 2020. Urban Nutrition Gap Study in Mumbai 2015 to 2018, Project Mark 2008 to 2010, a multi-centric pan-India project on school-going children, government and private school boards, in collaboration with Diabetes Foundation of India and World Diabetes Foundation. Tantia Health Link Project with Ministry of Japan 2014 to 2015. She was the mission leader of Joint Review Mission of Ministry of HRD Government of India for evaluation of midday meal program in the state of Maharashtra 2012 to 2013. She is an expert on the FSSI scientific panels on labeling and claims advertisement and scientific panel of nutrition and fortification from 1st January 2020 to 31st December 2022. She is a member of National Steering Committee of NET-Profan FSSI Government of India. She is a certified master trainer of Project Hope, a diabetic educator project in India by International Diabetic Federation, and is the author of Indian Manual. She is a part of National Expert Working Committee on Asian and Indian Consensus Statements and Guidelines on Obesity, Diabetes, Cardiovascular Diseases, Physical Activity, and Gut Health. She has more than 50 publications in international and national peer-reviewed journals and books. She is a regular columnist in Times of India, Midday, Mumbai Mirror, Wellbeing, and Femina. We will be privileged, we will be enlightened by her precious thoughts. Thank you, ma'am. She hasn't joined yet, I think.
She has joined.
She's here. She is here.
Welcome again, Dr. Mohan.
Yeah, good afternoon. I just completely lost my network and I just thought maybe something else has happened and realized my network had gone. Okay, so can I begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so am I audible to everyone? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, certainly.
So, very good afternoon to one and all. And at the outset, let me thank Dr. Suman. And I think it was only his enthusiasm through a mail. You know, I mean, you can imagine what an individual can communicate through a mail, which kind of motivated me to say yes. And I felt that I wanted to be a part of, your program. And more than anything, I think what really attracted me and motivated me was to reach out to this part of the country. And I think we are fortunate today that whatever be the scenario of pandemic, but the pandemic has brought us closer, because through virtual means and modalities, we can connect to eminent people, not only nationally, but globally. And also, I think the reach to the fraternity, especially the budding nutrition and dietetics fraternity, to my mind, that is very important. And believe me, that was in my heart when I accepted this invite, and I took this as an opportunity that I would get a chance to, have a dialogue with my budding nutritionists and dietitians and this fraternity, and from this part of the country. And more than anything, I think like what Dr. Suman said, and our Dr. Apurba mentioned in his context setting address, and Dr. Mitali said that, basically nutrition is the mandate of the nation today. And to my mind, every individual of this country should be nutrition literate. So I think nutrition literacy, what Dr. Gangopadhyay, you said, that, you heard an apple a day keeps doctor away. But today we are looking at that nutrition from a very scientific lens. And we have huge amount of which is available. But it needs to be simplified and made relevant to each and every person who is listening to what I'm going to talk today. Because we have to learn to apply those principles in our day-to-day life and see that how we can benefit, right? So with those words, I would like to, so thank you very much, Dr. Apurba, for giving me this opportunity. And I thank the management of Mrinalini Datta Mahavidyapeeth, Kolkata. And I also, I'm very, very delighted to kind of hear Dr. Adela's deliberation. And I think I did meet her in one of the conference at ICD, which Dr. Suman mentioned in his mail. So it is very nice that you could bring both of us together, and I can also hear to her deliberation. So just give me a minute. Let me share the screen with you. Yeah. So. Okay. So tell me, just you have to guide me and tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And I'll just take it to the. Yeah, is it clear?
Absolutely fine, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So friends, today I'm going to talk about an area which I think not only concerns the nutrition students or nutrition fraternity or practicing dietitians, but I think it is a concern to all of us, because we are in a very, very peculiar and a very unique kind of a situation. So at the outset, let me bring greetings to you from Indian Dietetic Association. The tagline of Indian Dietetic Association is Aham Annam, we are what we eat. And we are looking at this statement with a very scientific perspective and making it relevant in present times. I also bring greetings to you from my university, that is SNDT Women's University, which was the first women's university in India. Started with 7 women, and today we are catering to more than 60,000 women across India. And Sir Vithal Das Thakurse College of Home Science is one of the prestigious autonomous college of SNDT Women's University, was the first college to get autonomous status in the whole of Maharashtra. And today and this year, we celebrate our 25 years of autonomous status. We are a NAC accredited college and a college with potential for excellence. And on behalf of the institution which I'm heading and the Indian Diabetic Association, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you who is a part of Mrinalini Datta Mahavidya Peeth, Kolkata, to visit us, and we can have a lot of sharing of strength and knowledge so that we can help and extend our expertise to others. I also like to reiterate that we are a part of a national movement, which is NetProFan, and that's a milestone which FSSAI, Government of India, has initiated by bringing 7 associations together to work towards the national mandate of eat right, eat safe, and eat sustainable. So friends, today, like I said, the last 6 months have been extremely challenging ever since we went into lockdown. But besides, the challenging situation we have, the biggest challenge we all are facing is to meet the challenge of meeting nutritional needs, and not only individual nutritional needs, but the family nutritional needs. So we all know that, in present times, we have limited resources, we have financial insecurity, we have changes in food supply and agriculture, we have limited access to fresh foods, we have increased consumption of convenience and processed foods, we have limited support systems, we have altered home environments, and I could see all of us are working from home, but that space is being shared by all members, and more or less we are in a state where we are concerned, especially about our young children, our elderlies, and especially the people above 50 years of age with comorbidities. Now, why do you think that it's a challenge to meet the nutritional needs? Because we already know that in India, it's not only that we suffer from triple burden of malnutrition, which is like on one hand, obesity, overnutrition, and on the other hand, gross undernutrition. But we also have what you call as the micronutrient malnutrition, which we refer to as hidden hunger. But then besides this, to my mind, each one of us who is sitting over here and listening to this talk need to introspect and take one step to find out what is the kind of environment which we are carrying within our body, because it is a known fact that, and we have a lot of data to support that in India, that people with low BMI or normal BMI may also be carrying a lot of fat in the body. And the moment we accumulate a whole lot of fat in the body, we start the process of inflammation. And my dear colleagues and my dear friends, inflammation is the beginning of the story to push you to the comorbid conditions, which we see today. Every second person, hypertensive, pre-diabetic, hypercholesterolemic, heart ailments. So it's the inflammation within our body, which we do not even realize because we may be carrying a normal weight or a normal BMI. And it is this comorbid condition which is compromising our immunity. And what we are hearing is that COVID is striking more to the people who are not only obese, who are overweight or normal weight, but are carrying more amount of body fat and less of body muscle. So this compromised immunity is pushing us to, infections, and this is the kind of vicious cycle which needs to be broken through the nutritional inputs. So friends, you could be on either side of this screen. Okay, if you are on the left side, when the lockdown began, probably you ended up, declining your exercise, went into your comfort eating, disrupted your eating schedule, went on to snack on high sat fats or high fat, salt and sugar foods, what you call as the HFSS foods, which are really on the radar. We didn't bother about our mineral and vitamin intake, and there was an influence of all this on our gut microbiota. And what did we see? That over a period of time, we increased on our weight, we increased the inflammation, and we decreased the immunity of the body. So in totality, our immunity kept on decreasing, and we started becoming prey more and more to the virus. Besides, if we didn't pay attention to the kind of precautions which we are supposed to take. But some of us have used lockdown as an opportunity. So when the lockdown began, I think we took charge of ourselves, and we went on to do our daily exercise. Even though we may be home, we still continued to do our spot jogging or walk or Surya Namaskar or whatever it could be, but maintained our healthy body weight, maintained our schedules of eating, paid attention to what we are eating on day-to-day basis. Especially we looked at the HFSS foods. We emphasize more on fibrous foods, foods which are high in omega-3, and micronutrients. And we helped ourselves getting a healthy gut microbiota. So what was the benefit? The benefit was that even in spite of lockdown, we could improve our immune response. So I think whether it was lockdown or not the lockdown, in spite of lockdown, it is our priorities, our choices, our determination, which can really tick the clock either this side or this side. But we want to be on this side besides taking the precaution, because we don't want to fall prey to the virus. So Hippocrates said many, many years back that, your food can be your medicine, provided you use it like a medicine. How do you use medicine, friends? You have a specific ingredient, you quantify it, you give the frequency of that consumption, and you take it, it becomes a medication. I just now, right at the beginning, said that today the science of nutrition has advanced so much that we can identify the physiologically active components in food. We can quantify them, we can lay down the frequency, and if we use it, believe it, it works like a medication. So we need to introspect in present times. We need to maximize on the available resources. And what is very important is that we need to pay emphasis on the quality in the limited resources we have. And of course, this quality coming in a defined quantity. So I'm going to take you through a journey wherein I'm going to touch very important points in relation to the nutrition intervention, in combating COVID-19. Now, there is a lot of science now emerging, because we were very, very illiterate so far as this virus was concerned, and that is how we were caught unprepared. But now that the science is emerging, we know for sure that this virus, which is the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, it attacks the cell at the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptors, which are present at the cellular level across the body in all important body organs. It resides at the cellular level, and this is the site where this virus tend to form this conjunction or binding. And once it enters the cell, it goes through its process of translation, transcription, and formation of the mature viron and exocytosis. So the science of nutrition today is now concentrating on what are the nutrients which can impact the cellular working or the cellular function, which can protect right from the time the virus seeks entry into our body. So there isn't so much data available, but then definitely it brings us to certain questions as to why some individuals get severe coronavirus, why others do not. Why is it that the mortality is high in some countries and ethnicity and not in others? Could low immunity status of an individual not known to have immunosuppressive disease cause COVID-19? Could dietary factors play an important role to increase immunity and resist infections? So these are very important questions which we as a nutrition fraternity are working towards finding answers, and we've just begun our journey. And there is a recent paper published by Dr. Anup Mishra and his group, and I'm also the part of the nutrition expert group who was involved in publishing of this paper. And this paper is actually a review paper which talks about that, what is the interface of nutrients on the angiotensin converting enzyme ACE2 receptor, which facilitates the entry of SARS coronavirus 2 to human cells. So this needs further discussion, and any inhibition of this enzyme would definitely lead to changed metabolic pathways, which has a potential for lung protection. So if you review the data, some of the data, and like I said, this is an emerging area. We don't have all the studies from a country where we belong. These studies are not from our country, and some of them are also in vitro studies, but then they are very important threads which we need to pay attention to. Like what is mentioned is that broccoli protein hydrolysate is shown to have an inhibitory activity on the ACE enzyme. Dairy product, eggs may also have a capacity of ACE inhibition. Saturated fats tend to increase ACE levels. Sulforaphane in cabbage may be an active natural activator of this receptor. Countries which overdo on fermented vegetables have found to be having more incidence of COVID-19, and that's kind of getting related to the activation of this receptor. And on the other hand, there are also threads which indicate that there are specific nutrients or specific inputs so far as your diet is concerned, which can contribute basically to the anti-inflammatory environment in the body. And friends, I started my talk by saying that the beginning of the story of COVID-19 is the inflammation. So anything which helps in reducing the inflammation in the body is a protection from the virus. So vitamin C is being talked about, probiotics are being talked about, and protein is a very, very important nutrient which is being highlighted. And we as Indians need to be extra cautious in terms of looking at the protein-rich sources in our daily diet. So our immunity works in a very complex manner, okay, and it's not that simple. But what I wish to highlight is that the base of this working is especially the micronutrients, which work at the metabolic level, the cellular level, the metabolic reaction levels of all types of immunity, whether it's innate, whether it's acquired, whether it is your humoral or cell mediated. So the micronutrient malnutrition is something which can really impact our working of the immune system. Now, there are a whole lot of vitamins and minerals, and like it was said by Dr. Apurba in the beginning, that these are some of the things which we need to take from our diet, because many of these cannot be synthesized by the body. But in spite of knowing that all of these which are listed over here have a role to play in the working of the immune system, there is still not enough evidence-based data about all, but we definitely have a lot of data in relation to vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. So I'm going to restrict my conversation in relation to these three important micronutrients. Now, vitamin C is supposed to be a very, very protective vitamin to COVID. And if you look at the way vitamin C can help this protection through its antimicrobial properties, antioxidative properties, anti-inflammatory properties, cardioprotective properties, pulmonary protection, anti-diabetic and anti-hyperglycemic, autophagic and immunomodulatory action. And if you look under each of these heads, there is a complete science to explain as to how it works under each of these functions which you achieve by vitamin C getting into the body. Now, friends, we need to look at what are the foods which give us vitamin C, and ask a question to yourself, that are you consuming adequate amount of vitamin C in your diet? Whether it is a yes or a no. Now, let me tell you that these foods are very commonly available foods. These are not exotic foods. These are Indian foods which are native to us. And I may have shown you these 6 or 7 foods, but I think in Kolkata, you can identify many foods, which are locally available, which are seasonally available, which are grown, and they are also good sources of vitamin C. Today, we have the Indian, food composition tables, which is a detailed, compilation of the nutritive value of Indian foods, which has the familiar foods, the non-familiar foods. But the point which I'm trying to drive is that we must make an effort to find out which are the vitamin C rich sources which we should incorporate in our diet. Now, something like amla is available throughout India and in all seasons, which is one of the richest source of vitamin C. You have guavas, one guava gives you 212 milligrams of vitamin C. And similarly, you have capsicum, you have citrus fruits, you have, vegetables like cabbage, amaranth, drumstick leaves. These are all vegetables which are giving you very good amount of vitamin C. So what we need to remember is that we need to incorporate vitamin C in adequate amounts in our diet. That is point number 1. Point number 2, that vitamin C is a very, very heat labile and a sensitive vitamin. And God has been so kind to us that all these food sources which you see on my screen, majority of them you can consume it either in the form of a salad or freshly cut fruit, or in the form of a lightly sauteed preparation. So the minimal you treat them, the maximal is the retention of the vitamin C. Now, for sure that this is a scenario when you want to prevent the virus coming to you. But even for prophylaxis today, the recommendation is 500 milligrams BID, right? But my first endeavor as a nutritionist would be that I get my 500 from here, and the remaining 500 I take as a supplement, right? Similarly, so this is a very important point which I want to drive, that we must first strengthen our dietary base. It is very easy to pop 2 pills, but remember, when you consume a nutrient as a food, you don't only get the nutrient, you get the richness of so many components in that food. So say, for example, if you're consuming guava, it was not only the vitamin C, you're getting a whole lot of soluble fiber, pectin, which is going to do a lot, a favorable inputs to your gut microflora. So each of these inputs are not only vitamin C additions, but they are doing so much good to you by giving additional components which they carry. Now, it is also known that vitamin C works beautifully with vitamin E, beta carotene, and quercetin, which is again a phytochemical, which you find in onions, apples, berries, green tea, citrus fruits. So always combining the nutrients and getting a food matrix is something which we need to remember. Now, vitamin D is a vitamin, which we don't have so many food sources which give us vitamin. But what is very clear is that there is huge amount of literature to show that vitamin D has a role to play so far as the ACE2 receptors are concerned. So it works at the virus entry level, at the virus replication level. It boosts our immune system, and it gives an, inhibition to the inflammatory response. So the message which goes very clear is that we need to check our vitamin D levels. Now, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. It is available over the counter. That doesn't mean that we start vitamin D supplementation without any medical supervision. So the important message which needs to be given to people at large is that first step is that, assess your vitamin D status. And if you are into an insufficient category, then take vitamin D supplementation under medical supervision, right? Because excess of it may not be also good. The second thing is that exposing your skin to sunlight is something which will definitely help your body to synthesize vitamin D. There are very few sources rich in vitamin D, maybe milk, egg in very small quantity. But like I said, whatever be the case, we need to know our vitamin D status, especially in the present COVID times. Now, coming to zinc, which is the third important micronutrient in relation to COVID. And it is very clear that even though it's a micronutrient, it's needed in smaller amount, but even a marginal deficiency of zinc can play havoc in your body and would not allow you to recover from the infection. Similarly, so because it's known that supplementation with zinc, prevents the viral entry, suppresses its replication, and it has also, connect with your sense of taste and saliva secretion. And that this virus strikes your taste, strikes your smell, these senses. So now when it comes to zinc, again, I bring you back to the food. That first look at your diet. If you look at what foods give you zinc, I think an egg is a fantastic source of zinc. Your chicken is a very good source of zinc. Your pulses are a very good source of zinc. Soya bean is a good source of zinc. Your nuts and oil seeds are a good source of zinc. So once you see that your dietary database, your dietary intake base is strengthened, and then if you're not meeting your requirement, then we go in for zinc supplementation. But supplementation, friends, should never be taken on your own. You should always seek professional help, and especially a medical professional help. Now, we go on to the nuts and oil seeds, which is a very vital and an important food group which needs to be emphasized in COVID-19 times. And today, as nutritionists, we are recommending a handful of nuts and oil seeds as snacks. We want you to replace your high fat, salt, and sugar foods with these nuts and oil seeds to be used as snacking options. But please use them in the most natural form. There's no need to fry them, oil them, salt them, smoke them. You are adding more inflammation and more problems by doing this treatment to this food group. So use them in the most natural form in your preparations, or use them as snacks. Now, another important point, which I want you to carry as a very important message is that all the nuts and oil seeds which I've listed over here, they are native to India, and they don't not only give you your good quality fat, which is so very important to boost your immune system, whether it's omega-3 or monounsaturated fatty acids, but they also give you good amount of protein, fiber, and in addition to that, they give you important micronutrients like vitamin E, zinc, and magnesium. So at these times when we have a pandemic and we are having limited resources, this is something which you can stock and you can use frequently through the day, maybe twice a day, handful. It's not going to harm you as long as you are not going to be increasing your visible fat intake, which comes from your ghee, butter, oil. So see to it that that is not more than 2 level tablespoons. I would say 10 to 12 grams or 2 level tablespoons per person per day, or definitely not more than 500 ml per person per month. Okay, so if you keep a control there, and if you know, incorporate nuts and oil seeds in your diet as a snack or as a part of your preparation, you are really adding value in terms of nutrient density. Now, I talk with so much of confidence because we, in our institution, your Sir Vithal Das Thakursi College of Home Science Research Cell, we recently finished a randomized control trial wherein we looked at the effect of almond consumption on the metabolic health of older adolescents and young adults in Mumbai. And what we did is we screened close to 1,300, older adolescents and young adults in the age group of 16 to 25 years. And you will be shocked to hear that more than 30% of them were, at risk to pre-diabetes. And the inclusion criteria was the fasting glucose, the 2-hour post-glucose, or the fasting hyperinsulinemia, or the glucose challenge hyperinsulinemia. So based on this, we found that more than 30% of the older adolescents and young adults in Mumbai were at risk to pre-diabetes. And if you looked at their BMI, they were absolutely normal or low BMI, right? Now, this group was then subjected to 2 groups, your almond group and the control group. We fed almost 56 grams of almonds to the experimental group and an isocaloric snack to the control group. And we followed them up for 90 days. And what we found some phenomenal results in terms of a decrease in glycosylated hemoglobin, decrease in the cholesterol, decrease in LDL, decrease in 2-hour insulin secretion, and decrease in IL-6, that is your inflammatory marker. So this randomized control trial brought us to the fact that almonds as a snack, and what we did was we basically replaced their HFSS snack, the high fat, salt, sugar snacks, with a defined amount of almonds per day. And it brought in so much favorable change in their metabolic environment and decrease the inflammation. That's what I started, when I started this presentation, that anything which helps you decrease your body inflammation is something which will protect you from the COVID-19 or the virus which is striking us. And I'm very happy to say that we presented this paper in the American Society of Nutrition Conference, Nutrition 2020, in June in Boston virtually. And I did the oral presentation there. Now, of course, for the, this virus, for COVID-19, I think what is also being spoken about is the impact which it has on the gut flora. And that is where the role of probiotics is coming in a big way. And it is not that the probiotics are directly getting linked. There isn't solid evidence to say that they can be utilized in the treatment of COVID-19, but definitely, it is a complementary treatment to address the GI symptoms, to address the secondary infections, to address the microbial translocation, to address the inflammation in the body, So that is where using probiotic in food substrate is something which needs to be emphasized. And I'm sure all of you in the last 6 months have definitely learned that you have to look at your kitchen first and then look outside. And you have so many antivirals in your own kitchen. You have your ginger, garlic, turmeric, tulsi, neem, lemongrass. And I'm sure in Kolkata, you have many other things which you can add to this list. But what is really to be highlighted is that all these herbs and condiments and spices, the dosages are scientifically stipulated. So they need to be taken only in defined quantities. So if they are good in excess, they may not be very good. and they also need to be taken in fresh state. They need to be used in preparations wherein you really don't subject them to too much of cooking. So you crush them, you make them a part of your, beverages or your chutneys, so that, the goodness of these spices and herbs can be retained. And today there is literature which talks about, the Ayurvedic herbs like ashwagandha. There is literature which talks about curcumin, which is, there's a lot of science now available to understand how curcumin is really helping, in COVID-19. And curcumin is one component, one physiologically active component, which is finding use at all levels of COVID-19 prevention. Prevention, the mild stage, the recovery stage, as well as the critical state. Okay, so if you look, really works, it prevents it works on the ACE2 receptors, it prevents the entry of the virus, it negates the fibrosis pathway, it negates the inflammatory markers, it creates an anti-inflammatory, favors the increase on the anti-inflammatory markers, and decreases the oxidative stress. So in totality, curcumin, and I know for sure that there are environments wherein critical state also, curcumin capsules are being used in certain defined concentrations, and there is science and literature available in this regard. Last few words, that COVID is striking people with comorbidities. So what is the message, friends, that you need to take? That means if COVID is striking people who are diabetic, who have high blood pressure, who have hyperlipidemia, then the message goes across that you've got to be really prioritizing controlling your comorbid condition, which means if you are a diabetic, in these times, you really need to have a very good blood sugar control. You need to have a tight vigil. You need to take professional help to get, the diet diversity, to get the distribution of, the macro and the micronutrients throughout the day, get your key nutrients, which are going to be boosting your immunity, get the additional inputs of herbs, condiments, and spices, and you couple it with regular aerobic stretching and yoga exercises. Why I brought this point is that if people are, and like I said, a major chunk of Indians are suffering from one or the other comorbid condition. That means their antennas have to be further higher to see that they take all the more care and they're disciplined to take precautions to see whatever condition they're suffering from is under control and they're not letting it loose. And what I always feel is this is a concept of healthy plate. So every one of you, each one of you who's listening to me must start looking at your plate for all your important meals. Whether it is your breakfast, whether it is your lunch, whether it is your dinner, please look at your plate. And what do you have to look at your plate? You have to look at your plate. How are you prioritizing the food groups in your plate? So when you're serving yourself, half of your plate should be filled with vegetables. What vegetables? Which are local, which are seasonal, which are colored, which are lightly cooked. And I will take out this fruit from here. I already told you, fruits, nuts, and oil seeds should be used only as snacks, which you have it either before the mid-morning or snack time or bedtime. But during your meal, your half plate should be filled with antioxidants, dietary fiber, that is your vegetables. 1/4 of your plate should be definitely good quality protein. People in Kolkata, I don't know whether you're getting fish or no. If no, then definitely egg is a good source. Curd is a good source. Pulses and dals are a good source of protein. So make sure that, you have, a 1/4 of your plate sitting as a protein-rich source in your plate. Don't miss this nutrient because this is most vital for your immunity. And only 1/4 of your plate should be your whole grains. And not rumali roti or bread, but it could be, the brown rice or brown rice with added vegetables, or a coarse cereal which you consume, so that it's laden with dietary fiber and micronutrients. So the moment you get this concept of how much to emphasize a food group in your plate, you will never go wrong in getting the balance of the macro and the micronutrient. Okay. So remember that there is no single food which is a superfood. There is no single nutrient which is a magic nutrient. You have huge amount of WhatsApp messages coming to you. One day something becomes a magical food, another day another thing becomes a magical food. Please don't go by these WhatsApp gurus. Okay, remember the concept of plate. When you look at your plate, and ask your question, where is my fiber? Where is my vegetable? Where is my color in my plate? Where is my protein? And how much of cereal am I consuming in my plate? And you take out that fruit. I told you 2 fruits a day, very good idea. Take it mid-morning, take it snack or bedtime. Take nuts and oil seeds for snacks. These are all the inputs which will not make your life complicated, but will keep you in control so far as all your basic dietary base is concerned. So a few take-home messages for all of you. Prioritize. That's very important. Invest. You need to invest time about your family nutrition, because charity begins at home. As a nutritionist, I have no business to talk to you about nutrition if I don't believe in what I talk, or if I don't practice what I preach. Reach out to people, not only to outside world, but to people within your family. Just the helpers, be inclusive, the helpers who help you at home, your watchmen, your sweepers, your extended families. See to it that if you have knowledge or whatever key messages which I tried to give you, see to it that you reach out, you be inclusive, you evaluate your family nutrition, look at the plate. Every time you serve yourself food, look at the plate and the importance which you are giving to each food group in your plate. And maximize nutrients from food which can be stocked. What can be stocked is definitely pulses, nuts and oil seeds, whole grains, okay? But use them with innovation. And encourage regular addition of vegetables and fruits. And I already told you what is locally available, seasonal. Make life simple. Okay, you don't need many preparations, but what you need is good ingredient. Okay, so even if you prepare 2 preparations on a 1-pot meal, but if you've added all the ingredients which were there in your plate, I think you've done the fantastic job. So you got your nutrient density. And see to it that you take along with you your adolescents, your young adults and children, because they really need to be engaged with the process of deciding what needs to be made for breakfast, what needs to be made for lunch, with the plate concept, so that they all are getting sensitized. Why is it important for them to eat well? And I showed you that picture. You could be on this side of the story, or you could be on the other side of the story. So lockdown is there for everybody, but you can maximize on the lockdown, or you can create a havoc in your body in lockdown. And also, please pay attention to the elderlies at home, because we need to make alterations in the texture, composition of the food. But again, the ingredients remain the same. The nutrient which we need to emphasize remain the same. And please adapt, because we have to give space to each member in the family, and emphasize on being a cohesive and a happy unit as a family. So these are some of the take-home messages for you. And remember the healthy plate. Don't forget that. So next time when you're now serving your dinner, remember me and think where is your fiber in the plate, where is your protein in the plate, and how much of cereal are you consuming? Okay, so with these thoughts, I would like to stop share, and I'll be most happy to answer any questions which you would like to ask me. And however Dr. Suman would guide, I would.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, actually, Thank you, thanks very much, thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Professor Madan, and we are really fortunate enough that all of the organizing committee members, they are agreed that this is very marvelous lecture which we ever heard from the nutritionist point of view. So thanks you very much. Yes, we have some questions regarding, rather than questions, I think this is the discussion part. We can put some question in the discussion part. And I think what the message you are trying to give the audience, they should adopt these kind of things, and they can able to continue their food by using a particular pattern. No, so it's very important. The message it is very important for health promotion point of view too. So anyway, I think Orpita will summarize this lecture, and after that, I will introduce the Professor Adela Zamor-Raboruz. Orpita.
Thank you, Dr. Madan, for your precious words. So, through her lecture, we can get how we can gain immunity through our diet. Vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc plays an important role in our diet. We have to take whole fruits that we can get wholesome goodness of that particular food. That we can get combination of the nutrients like vitamin C, carotene, antioxidants in a particular food. Physical activity along with yoga, Surya Namaskar, or freehand exercise should be emphasized in our daily lifestyle, should be incorporated in our daily lifestyle. We need to check vitamin D level, but at first we have to assess it. Then take vitamin D tablets under supervision if needed, unless it will affect in our body. Exposed in sunlight is very important. Another minerals that plays an important role is zinc. We through the lecture we can get that zinc is associated with the sense of taste and saliva secretion. So we have to intake proper amount of zinc through our diet, through egg, soybean, nuts and oilseeds, pulses, legumes, green leafy vegetables. We have to use handful amount of nuts like almonds or any other oil seeds, but not more than 10 to 12 gram per day. That means the daily requirement. We don't have to take we don't need to take excess amount of requirement, excess amount of oil seeds. Anti-inflammatory factors helps to fight against COVID-19. Using probiotics through diet is important. Ginger, garlic, neem, turmeric, all have to be taken in proper quantity to get goodness to those spices and herbs. And lastly, a balance of macronutrient and micronutrient is the key point, and we should emphasize on nutrition density. Yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you, Orpita. I think you rightly pointed out the different points, and hopefully we'll discuss in the discussion section. Professor Madan, there are some questions raised by the different participants. I'll also send me some question in my mail too. So hopefully we'll discuss after the talk of Professor Adela Zamor-Raboruz. Now the time to introduce Professor Adela Zamor-Raboruz. Professor Adela Zamor-Raboruz is a book writer, editor, researcher, and speaker. In 2006, PRC, Most Outstanding Professionals in Nutrition and Dietetics, and one of 10 past and present leaders in nutrition and dietetics of the decade. She served as dean of 3 different colleges at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines before becoming the director of curriculum planning and director of the Quality Assurance Center. Dr. Ruz has had 10 years hospital dietetics experiences, 28 years as full-time educator, accreditor of higher education and credited with 70 researches and 24 book publications. As the immediate past president of the Nutrition Dietitian Association of the Philippines, Dr. Ruz was the primary lobbyist for the enactment of the law signed by the Philippine president in 2016, thus updating and upgrading professionals' practice of nutrition dietetics in her country. As a social scientist, she continues doing research and peer review of researches for national publications, mentoring students, serving as advisor to doctor studies, specifically in public administration and health. This is the formal introduction of Professor Adela Zamora Ruz. But as per my perceptions, she is a great human being. She is a great human being. Whichever I heard his work, his heard her approach, her work, and her dedications. So we are extremely happy, and we are delighted to welcome Professor Adela Zamora Ruz to deliver his talk. Thank Professor Ruz, Madam.
Thank you so much. Let me just have my screen. Okay. Okay. Does everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very clearly. Absolutely. Thank you.
So
carry on.
thank you, Dr. Suman, for this invitation. And I'm honored to be part of your international webinar. I have many friends also in India, particularly because of my exposure to international events. And India has also a soft spot in my heart because my sister had her scoliosis treated in India. So she's been there for 2 times for longer periods, but for me, I have not been there personally. I am looking forward to the Indian Dietetic Association holding the Asian Congress of Dietetics in what year? 2026?
2026. Yes, we are
Yes.
going to host it in Mumbai.
Okay, so I would like to see you. I have plenty of friends here, and some of these friends are officers of the Indian Dietetic Association. Okay, so I would like to have my felicitations on India's National Nutrition Month with the theme Eat Right, Bite by Bite. So this is the same as the theme by the Nutrition Month of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which celebrates their Nutrition Month in March. In the Philippines, our celebration is every July because of a law that establishes the highest policy-making body in nutrition, the National Nutrition Council, and we had the celebration started by 1974. So we've been doing that for a long time. So the purpose of Nutrition Month is to help the public become aware of the importance of good nutrition and healthful eating plan. So I have here a clip of the National Nutrition Month, whereby this is a very precious event, considering that you are now having a National Nutrition Month, where it used to be just a National Nutrition Week. So for the Prime Minister was calling for nutrition cards that work like report cards in school, and that the move would help spread nutrition awareness among students. But not only kids in India are the only subset of the population who need exposure to such knowledge, because all the different age groups would need those knowledge. And I'm so happy that Dr. Jagmeet Madan has discussed the nutrition for the different lifespan. So let us start with background, starting from the world perspective. So in September, the United Nations Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda Sustainable Development with 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So the constantly changing political, socioeconomic, and environmental conditions make it necessary and a challenge, and it is difficult for people and policymakers to make better decisions for health. So how do we meet this? Developing health literacy is cited as the intervention to empower people, build personal skills, and strengthen individual and collective capacity to act for health and sustainable development. This brings us to the importance of health education, a combination of learning experience designed to help individuals and communities improve by increasing their knowledge or influencing their attitudes and actions. So this has evolved into a profession which covers environmental health, physical health, social health, emotional health, intellectual health, spiritual health, as well as sexual and reproductive health education. So at the ninth Global Conference on Health Promotion in China in November 2016, countries in the global health promotion community declared that health and well-being are requirements for sustainable development. And leaders around the world pledge to increase political engagement and financial investment in health promotion to accelerate the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. So appreciating the enormous role of nutrition to the attainment of good health, it was just proper to declare 2016 to 2025 as the United Nations Decade of Action on Nutrition. So, for foremost to this are the zero hunger and good health. So promoting nutritionally adequate diets, the major aim of the Food and Agriculture Organization. It was launched, the program Zero Hunger Challenge was launched in 2012. And when talking about hunger, the only acceptable number is 0. So you have these aims: 0 stunted children less than 2 years, 100% access to adequate food, all food systems are sustainable, increase in smallholder productivity and income, and 0 loss or wastage of food. So let us look at how formidable basic human needs can be met. A healthy state needs assurance of basic needs. And these are your respiration, circulation, nutrition, hydration, elimination, rest, movement, comfort, safety, and connection with significant others, the environment, and a higher power. And we must all have a purpose in life. So the fulfillment of basic needs depends on some complex factors. Um, Physical, mental, and socioeconomic factors, knowledge, skills, and experience, desire, and decision to act. So these are now can be more explained by Dr. Suman as an anthropologist. So the individual needs to maintain a healthy nutritional state for every person is to know what constitutes a healthy diet, have the ability to plan, prepare, and consume meals, have the money to purchase food, be physically active to shop for, handle, prepare, and consume food, know how to properly cook or have access to someone who knows how to cook, be motivated to eat properly, have an emotional state that is conducive to proper food intake, make sound dietary choices, and organize activities to have time to eat. But mid in the decade of nutrition, the COVID-19 pandemic came in. So suddenly, uh, there was uncertainty. People had to stay at home. Some lost their jobs. The vulnerable groups, infants with their mothers, young children, and older persons were prohibited from going out of their residence and to travel elsewhere. Health facilities and services were overburdened. Frontliners became the modern heroes, but sadly, some of them had to lose their lives fighting COVID-19. Governments had to rely on their local executives for good governance to contain the disease, provide aids, and transition to a new normal. Social distancing, hand washing, community quarantine, PPE became bywords. So aside from being bombarded with information from different media, there were also a lot of fake news. And we call that infodemic. So countries and peoples of the world had to adjust to a new normal. For instance, in the Philippines, the Department of Health has to issue a guide to the new normal, covering what to do, and also issued specific guidelines because it affected a lot of industries. So guidelines on transport, guidelines on sports, guidelines on film, um, also for engineering and administrative controls. So let us first see how a person become a nutrition dietetics professional by comparing Philippines and India. So India follows um, the it is similar to the United States. In the Philippines, we have a new curriculum where the BS Nutrition and Dietetics is the name of the program. It is 4 years of study comprising 3 years didactic and 1 year practicum in hospital dietetics, food service management, and public health nutrition. The Commission on Higher Education set national standards, which we call policies, standards, and guidelines, and the higher education institutions get certificate of program compliance from the regional offices of the Commission. The practicum centers have also to be accredited by the Commission. So this CHED is similar to your University Grants Commission, which approves the curricula of the nutrition and dietetics courses in India. We have 54 higher education institutions offering the program, but I know there are hundreds if not thousands of schools already offering the program, being a large country. So the internship in India, which is separate from the program, is incorporated in the Philippines. So it is very tough to be studying nutrition because they have only 3 years to finish it, and then the last year would be the practicum. Um, and they have to pass the licensure exam given by the Board of Nutrition and Dietetics under the Professional Regulation Commission, which is the government entity under the Department of Labor. So in the Philippines, once you pass the board exam, you can practice in any part of the country. In India, the exam is given through the um, exam board of the Indian Dietetic Association. Okay, the role of NDAP, the Organization of Dietitian, is to recommend candidates for the board. And we have a law governing the practice of nutrition and dietetics in the country. So in the scope of practice, uh, usually you find the work setting as where the dietitians work. But in our law, it was we have to specify what the dietitian does, and this can be applied in any of the work settings. So if this type of work is being done in an institution, like providing medical nutrition therapy, then it must be the ambit of the registered nutritionist dietitian. So how has nutrition dietetics profession changed during the COVID-19 pandemic? So what are my sources? So as your resource person, I have to rely on published reports and reputable journals, webinars sponsored by reputable organizations, interview with colleagues in the profession, and my experiences as a nutrition dietetics practitioner for 40 years. Um, the first 10 years was being a nutritionist dietitian and a teacher in a teaching and research hospital, the Veterans Medical Center. And the next years will be in the academe, but with a lot of other uh, work assignments. So what did I find? There was a commission survey by the California Prunes in May to June 2020 via Today's Dietitian, which attempted to gauge the impact of the COVID-19 on the profession, as well as the consumer interests and behaviors during the pandemic. So it got 1,076 responses from a wide range of practitioners, clinical, community, retail, food service consulting, and academia dietitians. And based on that survey, 60% shifted to telehealth or virtual nutrition counseling. So 33% or one-third experience increase in client inquiries about non-nutrition advice, overall health and wellness. So it generated more than what they asked of the nutritionist dietitian. The question is, are telehealth nutrition consults as effective as in-person counsel? So a systematic review showed that telephone consultation with the dietitian increased older person clients' protein intake and improved their quality of life. So improvement was about 0.13 gram per kilogram body weight, and that dietitian telephone consultations also resulted in trends that lead to improvements in nutritional status, physical function, and hospital readmission rates and mortality. So overall, this review found telehealth via telephone consultation and internet-enabled telemedicine devices is as effective method to deliver nutrition-related interventions to older adults living at home and likely to result in clinical improvements compared with the usual care or no intervention. So, with regards to Dietitians Australia, in their journal, they cited that telephone and video conference consultations are just as effective as in-person care. And they have listed the evidence-based recommendation for telehealth delivered consultation. So it is effective in weight management, chronic disease management, malnutrition. And so the challenge here is how to become adept with technology to deliver virtual nutrition services. So nutritionist dietitians must be able to do this considering the limitations of the new normal and also to reach people which are far from you. So on the influence of COVID-19 on consumer behaviors, dietitians observed that 87% were at home more often.
I don't know whether connection is lost, Professor Rose. Mr. Adela, can you hear me? Something going wrong. Anyway, uh, I think Professor Adela Zamobara Rose just she will join. She lost our connection here, so hopefully she will join right now. We are waiting for her for a minute, and before that, what Professor Adela Zamobara Rose is trying to emphasize on what a difference between the practicing nutrition and dietetics persons between the India and Philippines. And she rightly said that the Philippines, they are using so much about the technology, and by using the technology, they meet their needs, specifically the consultations of the doctors, what kind of diet they need. That is very popular in the Philippines, not only the Philippines, but also in Malaysia, in Thailand, and also in Hong Kong. So in Southeast Asian country, in Australia too. So New Zealand also giving this kind of things, as Professor Madan is also here, and Professor Madan also is a good person to highlight about this, what the telemedicine, how far is important for the Indian context. So I think Professor Madan, Professor Adela Zamobara lost her connection. Hopefully she will join very fast. So in the meantime, I would like to ask one question which I got from one participant yesterday. That is, how we can manage, what is the relationship between kidney disease and COVID-19 infections? So it is better the question we can answer, that is how, what is the nutrient composition should be used for the COVID-19 infections with comorbidity conditions with kidney disease. Kind of unmute, 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 kind of unmute, kind of unmute, kindly unmute.
Can I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hear the question
Yes,
again? I could not.
yes, yes.
What is the
Okay.
diet for COVID-19?
Yeah, COVID-19, who are suffering by kidney disease, CKD, or whatever it is, chronic kidney disease.
See, what I mentioned was that, comorbidities are very, very common in India. Okay. So every second person you meet is either suffering from hypertension or diabetes. And if it is a long-standing diabetes, definitely kidney functions need to be addressed because kidneys may be compromised, or if a diabetic nephropathy is already identified. So, what the assessment of these comorbid conditions is very important. But what I'm saying is that if in these times, especially management of these comorbid conditions has to be done very meticulously and very carefully, and and given highest priority, because when we know that we are at a higher risk to get infected because of these comorbidities, our immune function is compromised. So the first thing which we need to do is that all those parameters which are important to kind of identify the control on the state. So say for example, if it is chronic kidney disease, then you need to assess at what stage the patient is. If it is the patient is being managed by conservative treatment, then you really look at the total protein intake of the patient. You need to be introduced to the the protein exchange which we create for the patient, that to get a defined quantity of protein, and that also a good quality protein. What foods can he pick up from that list so that he gets less protein but yet good quality, so that it can add to the anabolism of the body. So like that, there are important parameters like potassium content, so he needs to monitor.
Yes, I think Professor Madan also. Professor Madan, are you here? Professor Madan, are you here? I think Professor Madan also lost his connection. Anyway, Professor Madan will join, and he is explaining that yes, there's a deep connection between the nutrition and the how the CKD, chronic kidney disease, if this person is suffered by the COVID-19. So the thing is that we have to check the different micronutrient context. So we lost the connection of the two of our esteemed speaker. So in the meantime, I think they will join very fast. I am here, no problem. But hello, Orpita, can you hear me? Orpita, can you hear me? Orpita?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I have my connection very well. Anyway, I think in the meantime, our our esteemed Barsal sir, Professor Sumit Mukherjee already joined. He will give the um, he is from Department of Economics, Mrinalini Dotto Mahavidyapit, and also the bursar of our college, and he will deliver the vote of thanks. And I think he will be here and there to deliver the vote of thanks. So before the joining, Professor, both of the Professor Madan and Professor Adela Zama Baruj, I am here to admit both of them, but it will require to connect him. I am trying to connect those person, but in the meanwhile, uh, I would like to convey some of the points that's very important for the understanding of the food and nutrition point of view. Yes, I know. Actually, Professor Jagmeet Madan lost his connection, and I have written that kindly try to connect. Yes, Professor Adela Zama Borus is joining. So important thing is that you know that uh, food is one of the basic needs for the human survival, and this is very important for the humans, not only the human survival. Yes, Professor Adela, are you here?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no,
My
no,
connection got lost.
no problem, no problem. You can now you may present your talk. No problem.
What happened?
Share your screen. Yes, it's coming. It's coming. Yes, where your presentation? Yeah. Thank you. You carry on. No, no problem.
Okay. So am I heard?
Yes,
And
Professor Adela, you
okay,
can
okay,
continue. No
okay.
problem. Yeah.
So as I was saying, the observation by the nutritionist is that more we're cooking at home. They were apprehensive about shopping. They are concerned about food safety, but they had greater interest in fruit and vegetables. And the fruit and vegetable interest were from fresh, frozen, or shelf stable, meaning dried um, or canned fruits and vegetables. Also, uh, on the type of information that the consumers are seeking, they listed budget-friendly foods, convenience, shelf staples, immunity support, comfort foods, and snacking. And the dietitians reported that their clients are more interested in food that support their immunity. That's 60%, more than 60%. More than one-fourth or 28.5% reported recommending more immunity supporting foods, and one-third reported that their clients are seeking more information about gut health because gut health is directly tied to the immunity since 70 to 80% of the body's immune system lives in the gut. So as you see, this top uh, information are all features about food. And as a result, food prices have gone up. So only immunity support focused on benefit. But um, as nutritionists, dietitians, we have to be careful about managing the client's expectation about nutrition and immunity because no food boosts the acquired immunity, but a balanced diet can help to keep the body healthier to allow the immune system to better fight off the infection when it comes. So nutrition can create the basis for immunity, but not to protect the body for every risk or virus that comes in. Supporting overall wellness is the key to supporting immunity. On the influence of COVID on patients' behavior, 70% are seeking more familiar foods that are often more indulgent, and almost 1/4 are making healthier food choices. So half of the R&Ds surveyed indicate the recommendations have not changed. They are recommending the same eating pattern as eating a balanced diet of whole grain, fruit, and vegetables in any form, and eating a variety of foods to make sure to get all the nutrients you need. So these are the top advice the RDNs are giving. So these are the ones that Dr. Jagmeet has already discussed. And when you look at them, you will see that all pertains to recommendations even when there was no COVID yet. So all those of this pertains to the basic tenets of good health that have withstood the test of time. And what are these? Proper food choices for a balanced diet, regular exercise, hydration, or drinking plenty of clean water, maintaining a healthy gut, stress reduction and management, and plenty of high quality sleep. So here we see that food is necessary for health, for fitness, and for enjoyment. The best practices of all times are the best practices for these times. So what we have to do, be kind to ourselves. We have to stay calm and focus on the positive or look for the silver lining. Consider an inclusive approach to food. Control what you can with a realistic eating plan. Enjoy your family. Experiment in the kitchen and make your own food. So these are the same as this poster which I'm showing on the proper nutrition while on quarantine, emphasizing the principles of diet planning of balance, variety, and moderation. So these have been what the nutritionists dietitians have been saying. So there is no difference between the recommendations that we've been giving and for the COVID. So countries must continue investing in nutrition. For instance, in the Philippines, we have the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition, and it is a companion of the Philippine Development Plan. So if the plans on nutrition become successful, according to the estimate by the World Health Organization, for every $1 you invest in nutrition, you get a $16 return of investment. So it means that you prevent a lot of diseases, you prevent a lot of expenses that are not supposed to be expended when people are healthy and living their lives fully. So this is what our action in the country means to improve the nutrition.
I think again, Professor Rose lost her connection. So Rose, are you here? Professor Rose, are you here? I think Professor Rose lost her connection. And where it is goes. Orpita, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I think Professor Rose, Professor Rose lost her connection. And, Professor Madan also said me that she also lost her connection. So anyway, what Professor Ruzar, I think Professor Ruzar trying to join as fast as possible. So there's a lot of distance between Philippines and India, and now the time is also approaching towards the night in Philippines. So anyway, Professor, meanwhile, we are talking about the nutrition and food and all these things, but what the important things from the food point of view, all of us know that the food is the basic needs of the human life. And whenever you are considering food for the human beings, the human food, but the human food is something different than the animal food, and because the human food mixed with the culture. So as Professor Adela Zamobaru said that anthropologists can better understand that what are the different type of socioeconomic and social cultural determinants, which is important for taking the food. So as a basic understanding of the food, as a student of anthropology, I always prefer to use the term diet. So for the human being, so when the food is amalgamated with the concept of the culture, it goes for the concept as a diet, and nutrition is something different. So I would like to share some of the experiences which I got from the Asian countries, that the food are, the diet are completely different from the different parts of the world, and even in India. So as Professor Madan said that yes, we are taking food from the different parts of the Indian people are taking food, but this does not mean if you have the sufficient BMI, body mass index, or you have your body in obese form, in overweight form, it does not mean you have the proper nutrition. You may have very little amount of micronutrient in your body, and that is the hidden hunger. That's a major problem in not only in India but also in Southeast Asian countries. So uh, one paper published in 2 to 3 years back, and I was surprised to know that the Northeast Indian population, they suffer most the micronutrient deficiency. But if you go into the Northeast India and if you analyze the NFHS National Family Health Survey data, you will get that uh, the major part of the Northeast Indian population, they are suffered by overweight and obesity. So that is the contrasting things, that in one hand you have in physically you are better looking, and you are looking very smart, and you are looking very healthy in outside, but the micronutrient are deficient in your body, and the micronutrient is very essential for regulating the proper metabolic pathway, and to transform the diet into your activity, the functional part of your body, to give the body the proper immunity and physiological function. So that is important way to understand the food and nutrition. So another micronutrient deficiency is vitamin A deficiency. It's a very large. There's a huge deficiency of vitamin A, specifically among the tribal population in India. And some of the customs are very much related to. Oh, I am extremely sorry to say that looks like a major problem. I will excuse myself. I have another commitment at 6:15 p.m. My apologize. Thanks for the opportunity. Enjoyed the session. Convey my regards to Dr. Adela. Have sent the message, Professor Madan. No problem. We will also we would like to invite Professor Madan again. Anyway, we will discuss with Professor Adela. I am trying to link Professor Adela, whether the why connection is lost, because it is not our hand. It is not our hand to reconnect the. So give me 1 minute. Please join. So I have a keen look where if Professor Adela will come again, then I'll surely connect her to her. So anyway, what I am saying that uh, so before 25th March, so before 25th March, yes sir, can you tell something? Principal sir, can you tell something? Principal sir, can you tell something? Anyway, what I am trying to say uh, that before 25th March, before the lockdown period in India, the scenario is completely different in terms of the normal life, the lifestyle, the healthy lifestyle, whatever it is, the food and nutrition and diet, whatever the things. And the things are completely changed from 25th March onwards. So spent near about April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 7 months is running. And we are still we are facing the COVID-19 pandemic. So one major question arose that if what are the nutrient compositions in your diet pre-COVID infection time, if you exposed into the COVID infections, and after the COVID infections. There are three different stages. One is pre-COVID infections in general populations. When the population is affected by COVID infections, there is another scenario, and after the infections, that is another
Suman,
platform. Yes,
hello, Suman. Suman,
yes.
Bol-
Please.
have you sent any message to Dr. Roos? Have you?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
She is trying. She is
okay,
trying. Okay.
okay,
So meanwhile,
okay. Then,
she's trying.
okay, no problem. You continue.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. No, anyway, as because I have done little bit of work on the nutrition and the different diet composition of the Indian tribal community, and I exposed some of the context in South and Southeast Asian countries. So in that particular context, I just share my experiences, right? So that is why I'm telling that now the people are trying to understand what the food composition you should have before COVID-19 infection, during COVID-19 infection, and after COVID-19 infection. Whatever the important chain we should interconnected in between each others. Now the thing is that what I have observed for the last 2 to 3 years, Nutrition Society of India and Indian Dietetics Associations, they are much more involved to uh, promote the such kind of diet which have the low glycemic index. So low glycemic index diet is related to the millets. So different kind of millets, and Indian government already established one millet research institute. But the controversy arose whether the millets is acceptable diet for the all over the Indians, but or it is confined in a particular region. So this study, one study has been done in Uttarakhand state in the India, in the northern part of India, when state government are tried to implement such kind of millet kind of hodgepodge to give the supplementation of the children, then it was got this popularization in that particular state only. But this composition of food, this composition of diet is not popularized all through the India. So it's very confined to a particular region. So that is important. That ICMR, one of the sister institute of the ICMR is National Institute of Nutrition. All of you know the National Institute of Nutrition. And National Institute of Nutrition, they published one RDA, Recommended Dietary Allowances for 2020, in such an important juncture that when the COVID-19 infection is very much important for the community as a whole. But they have been given as a whole macronutrient context and micronutrient context. What kind of food composition should we have? We should obey this rule and so on and so forth. But in ground level, we have to see whether the people are getting all kind of nutrients or not. That is important for the bureaucratic part and the bureaucratics, uh, they are very much keen to observe the what kind of food are taking very underprivileged group in India, because you know that all of yes, all of we know that nearly more than 64% of the population are living in the rural villages. Another interesting fact I'd like to share with you, that is the roots and tubers. You know that the roots and tubers, and one kind of tubers, you know, yes, Professor Roos already came. Welcome, Professor Roos, again. Professor Roos, Professor Adela Zamo Rabu Roos, are you here? Yes, yes. Please continue, Professor Roos. Please continue. Professor Roos, kindly continue. Can you hear me, Professor Roos? Yes, we are able to see your. Yes, Professor Roos.
Hello, yes.
Yeah. You can continue. No problem. You can continue.
Okay. So we
Okay.
know that adult malnutrition starts in childhood. So there are lots of policies that are needed. So in the case of India, you can look at the policies that address these different age groups. So for instance, what policies have been made on the first 1,000 days, because the health of the mother and the child is very important, considering that there is a relationship between the nutrition, between pregnancy and the nutrition of the baby up to 2 years. And then there are ways to improve nutrition of infants and children. Like there are behaviors to encourage, like breastfeeding and hand washing. You can just, I can just send this PowerPoint to you, because most of this can be read. Behaviors to change um, or encourage, like breastfeeding and hand washing. Supplements to produce, providing supplements for the pregnant mother, as well as supplements for the infant. Giving treatment for dairy, and how to treat severe malnutrition. So there are ways by which these are done, and the Department of Health has the manuals on how to do this. And the foods to produce and eat, producing and eating nutritious food, and encouraging a varied diet. So also, in our country, there is an expanded maternity leave law. Both government and private offices are required to give mothers 100 days of paid maternity leave credits, 7 days of which can be transferable to the father. And for single mothers, an additional of 15 days, or a total of 120 days, to enable them to breastfeed their children. And this does not take into consideration the civil status, even the legitimacy and employment status. So all mothers who are employed, they can avail of this expanded maternity leave law. Also, in the Department of Health, there is a memorandum which foods must be available in school canteens. So you have the green category, which are high in nutrients, low in fat, sugar, and salt, must be available daily. And there are those to be allowed during Tuesdays and Thursdays only. These are the foods that contain a little of fat, um, sugar, and salt. And then the red category, these are not allowed to be sold in the school canteen. These are the foods that have little nutrients, but high on fat, sugar, and salt. So this is also in connection with the feeding school children. So we have a law that provides for feeding program for undernourished children in public daycare centers in kindergarten and elementary school. So also for adolescents, we have to care for them because I'm presenting a study which shows that sleep, fruit and vegetable consumption, social media use influence adolescent mental health. So this cohort study uh, of 9,369 adolescents that reported mental health problems were seen in those who don't have at least 9 hours of sleep, and those who do not consume fruit and vegetables, and those who use a lot of social media. So the findings suggest that mental health during adolescence was associated with health behavior outcomes. And this should be considered for future to how to communicate health behaviors to this group of children or this group of people, since they rely more on their peers than on their parents. So for older nutrition and immunity, we have to ensure all the adults have access to the food they need, include immune supporting nutrients as part of the healthy diet, and help them stay hydrated. So these were all elucidated by Dr. Madan. For my part, as a consultant of the Philippine Department of Health, early um, during the pandemic, in March, we did the guidelines for registered nutritionists, dietitians, and hospitals on the nutrition management of suspected, probable, and confirmed COVID patients, and on the provision of healthy diets to hospital workforce. So it is the paramount responsibility of the dietary department to provide food for the frontliners. We also made guidelines on the preparation and handling of food in temporary treatment and holding facilities for COVID-19 patients. So all the necessary guidelines on nutritious food, food sanitation and safety are contained in those guidelines, and that they must have nutritionists, dietitians to assist them. Okay, so you have to know your health status. This slide I got from India Health Link. And the World Health Organization predicts that by 2030, non-communicable diseases will account for almost 3/4 of all deaths worldwide. So ensuring people have proper nutrition is becoming even more important in both developed and developing countries. So you have identified the root cause of all NCDs into tobacco use, physical inactivity, unhealthy diet, and alcohol consumption. And this leads to four risk factors: race, blood pressure, overweight and obesity, raise blood cholesterol, and the raise blood sugar. So probably I'll just have to end here. As the ideal health profile of an individual, of these 13, how many are true to ourselves? So I challenge you to look at this list. So the ideal health profile of an individual is one who consumes an appropriate amount of high quality food. He or she exercises regularly, maintains weight within the desirable range, has effective stress coping mechanisms, balances work and play, looks forward to activities with energy and enthusiasm, falls asleep easily and sleeps well, eliminates waste with ease and regularity, has meaningful relationships, enjoy a satisfying sex life, and for those who are celibate, they enjoy a satisfying hobby. Uh, that person feels a sense of purpose, he feels safe, and free from pain and other symptoms. So if we have that, then we have an ideal health profile. So as lecturing in an academic institution, I encourage the staff to have increased staff well-being and research engagement. So there must be a mechanism for promoting ownership and accountability and participatory planning, adequate physical facilities, equipment and supplies that should be provided, and training line managers in people management skills, including a large number of clinicians who lead and supervise people and offices but don't see themselves as managers. This is especially true for physicians because they are not trained on customer relations. And for us professionals, what I always say is that we have to play our part fully well. Be aware, understand, imbibe, and appreciate the mission vision of the agency, the goals of your department, because this vision, mission, goals, and objectives will be the basis of all the operations of your agency or institution. The agency is judged by the degree to which its mission, goals, and objectives are attained and not in comparison with others. We also have to practice our code of ethics, our work ethics and philosophy, which are predictors of willingness for advancement. And we have data. We have to utilize data routinely collected at hand to answer problems prevalent in the institution. And seek the help of experts and mentors. You can interview them, visit, participate in exhibits and expos, even though most of them will now be online. Do a thorough review of literature, know the availability of laboratories in the area or school, and collaboration with others. Computer technology for research, whether it's standalone or web-based or internet applications, will be at hand, and know the priorities of funding agencies that must be giving assistance to your chosen field of study. So I offer resilience and optimism. So we have to look at the 5 P's of sustainable development: people, the planet, partnership, peace, and prosperity. And to borrow from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, good nutrition doesn't have to be restrictive or overwhelming. Small goals and changes can have a cumulative helpful effect, and every little bit or bite of nutrition is a step in the right direction. So to end, this is what the great man, which I always admire, who said that your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. Coming from the great man, um, Mahatma Gandhi. So thank you and have a nice day.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Professor Adela Zama Baruruz. Even in spite of some technical difficulties, that show the determinations and also the motivations and dedications that we are showing in this particular webinar, that if you have the will, you can, if you have the wish, you can do it. So thanks a lot, Professor Adela Zama Baruruz. She explained extremely well what the difference between the nutrition dietetics practitioners between the India and Philippines, and also what the role the nutritional practices before COVID-19, and how the different technologies, specifically the telehealth and mobile health issues, the technology can and able to give the proper nutritional guide to the all the society members. And lastly, he explained the right word, that when the nutrition nutrition is a part of the value system of the society, then obviously the people are able to get the information, and they are able to utilize the nutrition properly. So the thing is that for this month of National Nutrition Month 2020 in India, the major theme is the right, eat right, bite by bite. So eat right means you have the knowledge what you are right eating. So thanks Professor Adela Zamobara Ruz for giving your excellent talk, and hopefully we'll invite you again, and if you're able to extend your great support. So thank you very much. So before going to the discussions, we have a very short period of time, but we will get some of the questions if you have, because I have a lot of questions, and that's not the platform to discuss all these things. So even though before going to the discussion, I would like to give one example how the food is related to the culture and the environment where the people are living. That is at the early part of the COVID-19 infections. You know that, Professor Adela, we have the western district of our West Bengal state in India, that is Purulia. The Santal people, the indigenous people are living there, and the early part of the COVID-19 lockdown, they are trying to eat some of the food which is very rich in vitamin C. No, so locally it is known as kudurum. So some of the people, they forget about it. When I talk regarding this vitamin C rich food, because they are always trying to get the lemon. No, so lemon, as because the government are always said that you used to take the lemon along with the water, which is very much rich in vitamin C. But as far my knowledge goes, when I talked about those people with these people, and I said that you have this kind of food in your own household, and why you are not taking this kudurum, which huge content of the vitamin C, that is indigenous food for their own. And after that, they are trying to grasp this food very well, and they are getting this food very well. So that is why what I'm trying to give you the message that the value system are adding to the food, and that is quite acceptable from the planner to the ground level. So you are the practitioners, you are the authority to tell what kind of nutrition should take the people for their benefit, for their healthy life. But the thing is that how much people are accepting. So that is important part. That is important part for the India too. So thank you very much. So some of the questions are coming. Anybody have some specific questions? Anybody have some specific question? So Professor Rose, one question is very much related to the particular webinar, that what are your prescriptions for those who are suffering by COVID-19? What kind of food they are taking before COVID-19, if they expose into the COVID-19 virus, and after that, these three different stages. What's your suggestion?
Actually, it is still a well-balanced diet. So Dr. Madanas explained some of the nutrients that will have to be highlighted in the diet of these patients. So it all boils down to a well-balanced diet suited for that particular person, taking into consideration his food intake, and then looking at the deficiencies of the nutrients, and looking for foods that will provide those nutrients. And if the nutrients are still lacking, then that's where supplementation comes in. That's why it has to be supervised by a health professional.
Okay. Thank you. Professor Rose, another question roaming in my mind. I am wondering that, some of the populations, they are even not diagnosed that whether they are suffering by diabetes or any sort of different kind of disease, like the rural populations. No, so one paper published by SB Subramaniam a few days back, and he showed us that according to NFH's data, the people who are living in Lakshadweep, even still now, Lakshadweep is not touched by COVID-19 cases for India, right? So this Lakshadweep, 90% of the population, they're suffering by diabetes. 90% of the population, like Nauru population in Australian island. So even if this COVID-19 will go, or these people will suffer affected by COVID-19 virus, then what happen? How the nutrition will be managed for them?
Lack of sleep is also a risk factor in the development of diabetes. So you have to abide by the tenets of good health, and they must be observed pretty well. So you have the food, you have the exercise or mobility, you have hydration, you have stress management, and then you have adequate sleep. Adequate sleep is also very important. So sometimes the illness is not because of the food that we eat, but because of the behavior as well as our mindset. These are also very important. That is why for persons with diabetes, which I was once upon a time also the president of the Philippine Association of Diabetes Educators, composed of physicians, nurses, and dietitians trained in diabetes education. We have clubs or organization for people who have diabetes, and there we educate them through gatherings, so simple gatherings, and it is a way of um, teaching them. We have what we call a rainbow camp for the juvenile diabetics, where they stay in the camp and live their life as diabetic. So that's where they inject insulin, they have food. We usually have not set meals, but we ask them to select the food from what is available on the table to see whether they understand the principles of food selection and good meals appropriate for their conditions. So a lot of
Thank you.
social behavior must go into it.
Yes. Now, my last question is that, as per your expertise throughout the world, as nutritionist and dietitian, and specifically in Asian countries, which country is performing well in order to supplement nutrition for the COVID-19 patient, as per your knowledge goes?
I don't know about other countries, but you cannot isolate just the food. It has to be a holistic approach.
Okay.
First, there must be adequate and nutritious food. Then the person must be in the right mindset, and he has to also follow hydration, which is very important, which was emphasized by the previous speakers, and also rest and sleep. Again and again, we go back to the tenets of good health.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much. We are just cover 2 hours 40 minutes. Now the time to give a vote of thanks. So I invite Professor Sumit Mukhopadhyay, the head of the Department of Economics, Mrinalini Datta Mahavidyapith, also the bursar of your college. Kindly give your thanks to that particular webinar. Sumit.
Thank you, Suman. Am I audible? Am I audible,
yes,
Suman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Honorable Principal Sir, distinguished speakers of today's webinar, Professor Dr. Jagmeet Madan, Professor Dr. Adela Zamara Boduz, the organizers, and all the other participants present in this webinar. It's my proud privilege to propose vote of thanks in this webinar on behalf of our principal, organizing department, and the college as a whole. I take this opportunity to express our profuse gratitude and sincere thanks to Dr. Jagmeet Madan. She is the National President of Indian Dietetic Association. She is also an expert of very many nutrition and dietetic associations. So I firstly thank her for giving us a bit of her valuable time from her busy schedule. Dr. Madan rigorously analyzed the much needed nutritional levels for people of different ages. She talked about the importance of micronutrients and probiotics, etc., and focused on local, seasonal, and fresh food items. Thank you, madam, for your virtual presence and giving us so enriched food for our thought. This will help us all to think over the same and act accordingly. I also thank Dr. Adela Jamara Buruz for making her time to join this seminar and enriching us with her speech. In a single word, she is a whatnot in the world of food, nutrition, and dietetics, not only in Philippines. Her works have substantial impact across the countries. Dr. Ruz nicely started with the United Nations Development Goals and linked it with the sustainable development and hunger. Now, the new normal situation, she addressed the requirement of food and nutrition at different age levels, different section of the societies, etc. She also smoothly analyzed the related policy issues. Thank you, ma'am, for your gracious presence in this webinar. We will all remember your 5 Ps. Next, I would like to thank our principal, sir, for his all-out support to any academic work we intend to. So this seminar, webinar is no exception. Thank you, sir, for always supporting with us. I would like to thank Dr. Mitali Ganguly, IQAC coordinator of our college. Like always, she is present in the seminar with her all supporting hands. Dr. Suman Chakraborty, coordinator, Department of Food and Nutrition of our college. Besides being the head of the Department of Anthropology, he is actually shouldering this additional responsibility. And I think he is the best choice of our college to give this responsibility. I also thank the Teachers Council, our teachers, and complete cooperation, our non-teaching staffs, and all the other members of our college. I also wish to thank you all the technical supporters, all the people who are in this seminar, who are from other colleges or other institutions. Thank you all. Over to Suman.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you, Professor Adela Zamara again, and all organizing members and all these, all the participants. I know Dr. Zuri Bora from Assam. She joined here. She's from anthropology department. She's the head of this particular anthropology department. We have Pushpalata and all the students who have joined as a participants in this particular webinar. I congratulate Orpita also. And this is the dream you are always trying to make our department to flourish very smoothly in coming future. So thanks again, Professor Ruz, and also I would like to extend the regards to Professor Ruz from Professor Madan, because she lost her connection. She had another commitment from 6:15. So that is why she gave her message to me to convey you that she gave her regards to you for and wish you a best of luck, and for again to meet you in further any other occasions. So thank you all, and hope we will meet again and for established our nutrition and food and nutrition department more smoothly. Thanks all. Thanks, Professor Adela Duz and Professor Sir Principal. Sir. Thanks.